crime spree, a man named Tracy Edwards came dangerously close to becoming one of his many victims, save for the fact that he followed his instincts. Tracy and Jeffrey met in July of 1991, and as usual, Jeffrey convinced Tracy to follow him to his apartment. Tracy said that when he got there, he sensed that something was off. He was fortunate enough to get out of the apartment and run for dear life. While running down the street, he stopped a police car and told the police officer how he felt something wasn't right about Jeffrey. This incident marked the beginning of the end for the 31-year-old killer. The police officer Tracy spoke to called for backup, and together with other cops who responded to his call, he raided Jeffrey's apartment. To their sheer horror, the authorities found several pictures of dismembered body parts all over the apartment, about 4 or 5 decapitated heads in Jeffrey's freezer, and dismembered body parts in both pots and pans. They also found in the large tank the torsos Jeffrey had dissolved using acid. Jeffrey was immediately arrested and taken into police custody. His day of reckoning had come, but things would only get worse for him from then on. After 6 weeks of being in police custody, Dahmer finally confessed to his crimes via pages of writing. During his trial, he pled guilty by reason of insanity, but he was deemed legally sane at his trial. At the end of his largely publicized trial on February 17, 1992, Jeffrey Dahmer was convicted of 15 murders and was sentenced to 15 terms of life imprisonment. The presiding judge ruled that Jeffrey would live out his days in the Columbia Correctional Institution, Portage, Wisconsin. Life behind bars. The nature of Jeffrey's crimes placed him in people's bad books. As a result, he was placed in protective custody and held in isolation. In the same vein, he was never let out of his cell except when he was bound. After a year of being held in the isolation cell, Jeffrey appealed to prison officials to move him to a different unit, stating that he had been cooperative and never caused any trouble. His appeal was heard, and he was moved to a unit for inmates with emotional and mental challenges. In this unit, Jeffrey was able to relate with other inmates. He started attending classes and even signed up for work duties. Along the line, Dahmer met a prison minister, Roy Ratcliffe, whom he reportedly often shared remorseful remarks about the murders he had committed with. Around this time, Jeffrey also started going to chapel. In May of 1994, Jeffrey sought to be baptized, and he was baptized by Ratcliffe in a water tub in prison. After his baptism, he began to share with other inmates the correspondences he'd been getting concerning his newfound faith. According to several reports, it was during this time that Jeffrey began to display certain behaviors that other inmates didn't appreciate. He often made jokes about cannibalism, saying that he was going to bite them. Dahmer also had a knack for molding his food to look like dismembered body parts. As if that wasn't bad enough, he would proceed to cover the food with ketchup to complete the look. While some reports